pick up ace-9 offsuit under the gun and open min raise. Everyone folds around, the blinds both call. Flop comes out 8-8 deuce, 2 hearts. I go ahead and c-bet here. This is a pretty good flop. I can expect, as long as they don't have a pair or a flush draw, they're not really going to be able to call. And they're not probably going to really want to play out of position. But small blind calls and the big blind check raises. So I've played with this player before, and I know they are capable of squeezing here, which is they are probably reading that I'm likely just betting out at this flop with just a random hand that didn't connect, which I am, and that this other player is probably weak too. And as long as they don't have an 8 or a flush draw, they're not really going to be able to continue. So they may assume, or I don't know if they're thinking this or not, but that person's range is probably like a small pair, maybe like pocket 4s, pocket 5s, pocket 6s. And I decide, because I have the position and the ace of hearts, the backdoor nut flush draw, and I'm blocking them from having the nut flush draw, I decide to float him with nothing, because I do think they are squeezing in this spot more often than they have it. Now, I do think if they did have an 8 that they are raising here, and I do think if they had a flush draw they are raising here as well as air. But it is a really good spot to squeeze. If you know you're playing someone that is not capable of squeezing here with just air, then this is a fold, because you're just going to be up against a value hand that you're drawing dead or drawing slim to most of the time. But I decide to go ahead and call, and the small blind ends up getting out of the way. So the turn comes King of Hearts, a great card for me. Puts a high over card, which could be a scare card if he had a middle pair, and it gives me the nut flush draw. So he bets $3 into a $9 pot. Now, this could be, because he's not going to give up on a bluff, and this puts a scare card. If I had a hand like, pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 7s, and was just floating them, I may want to give up. So I expect him to bet, but it's a pretty weak bet, and they could have those hands themselves, and are just trying to see how I'm going to react to it. Now, a lot of people would just call here and try to hit their flush, but I don't think that's a very smart thing to do. If I just call, I'm basically saying I don't have an 8 and I don't have a flush, because an 8's raising here for a lot of reasons, just for protection, for value, and a flush is raising for protection and for value, probably unless it's the nut flush. But even that, if you're up against an 8, you want to charge that person to try to get their full house and try to get as much money in as possible and put them in a tough spot at the river. So if I just call here, I'm basically saying I have a weak hand. Now, if they have a hand like pocket 10s, pocket 7s, and I just call and the river bricks, and they check, then and I'm in a bad position to bluff, because I'm going to get picked off because my hand's not going to make any sense. So I decide to go ahead here and rep something bigger than I have, and with the ace of hearts in my hands, and I go ahead and make it $10.87. So now I'm putting them in a tough spot. So if they have air, they're just gonna get out of the way, and if they have a weak marginal hand, then they're gonna get out of the way. Now, I have put half my stack in this pot, and I am prepared to, if they shove, I'm just gonna call off, even though I'm only gonna be around 25% equity. But it is what it is. I just think, based off of my read on him from playing with him, and just on this bet sizing here, that this is actually going to get through most of the time, and it does, and they end up folding. So it's uh so it's not gonna work all the time. Yeah, your reads aren't always gonna be right. But as long as you're thinking and just paying attention to everything that's going on, um, you know, you yeah, I lost track of what I was saying, but um,